So today we are very happy and we are privileged to have our special guest of honor, Mr. Abba Aliyu, who will deliver the keynote address for the conference. You're welcome to the podium, sir. Please appreciate him as he comes forward.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Al. Still standing on the existing protocol. I'm someone that likes to stand on a protocol that has already been established. Today's keynote address will look at specifically what are the things that the federal government and REA in specific is doing as regards to financing and bridging financing. Not only that, but creating opportunities. It may interest us to know that the Nigerian Electrification Project, it's coming to an end. The project is now built to end by the end of July. The project, which is a $550 million project that provided subsidies and grants to private sector to incentivize them to provide mini grid and access to electricity to unserved and underserved area. To this end, the federal government of Nigeria has already designed another project that is called Distributed Access through Renewable Energy Scale-up. The acronym is called DES. DES is going to be the biggest funded off-grid project in the entire world. It is a $750 million project that will provide the same subsidy and grants to private sector for them to provide access to electricity to unserved and underserved area. The project had already secured the federal government, Federal Executive Council approval, and we are waiting for the final negotiation and the commencement of the project. This project was designed based on key principles. The first principle is looking at NEP, the Nigerian Electrification Project. We looked at it to find out what are the exactly things that worked out very well under NEP. And we identified two key things that worked very well: the performance-based grant and the solar home systems. And based on that, the DES was built on this with these two core components. The second principles that DES was built on is what are the things that were tested under NEP, but we felt that scaling them up on DES would make it much more impactful. And in this regard, we identified three key things: the minimum subsidy tender, the productive use of equipment. I was keenly listening to the Olon discussion, and that was mentioned as a way of creating sustainability for the mini grid. So the minimum subsidy tender, the productive use of equipment, and interconnected mini grid. The DES is designed now to promote on a very large scale these three key aspects of access creation. I repeat: minimum subsidy tender, interconnected mini grid, and productive use of equipment. Then the third principle upon which DES was built on is things that we felt as we were implementing NEP, we felt that we wish we had built such. And these things are two. One is what we are discussing now. How do we integrate financial opportunities in such a way that we make it easier for the developers to reduce their project development time? And in this regard, we are looking at partnering with different financiers so that as a developer sign a grant agreement with us, he can use that grant agreement a financing agreement with other developers, like what the Olon are doing, and infra credit and so on. To date, we are in discussion with International Finance Corporation for a funding of $100 million. Once you have your grant agreement, the debt or financing agreement you will sign with IFC, for example, will mirror the grant agreement, and you will now have access to working capital based on determined parameters. So this is something that we built under this, and we are also in discussion with other finance. Stanbic IBTC, thanks to the REA president who incubated this relationship. Not only Stanbic IBTC, but the partner company of Standard Bank of South Africa. We have gone very far in the discussion. And one interesting thing that Stanbic IBTC and Standard Bank are offering is that they developed a financial solution. So it's not just a financing agreement, they go beyond that. So it's a financial solution that provides developers access to finance, not only access to finance, but leveraging on ICBC, which is the biggest bank in the world, which happens to be a shareholder in Standard Bank. So through that bank, they created a relationship with tier 1 manufacturers of solar home systems, panels, storage systems in China. So as you create a relationship with Standard Bank, Stanbic IBTC, you now, through that relationship, have access to these tier 1 manufacturers, which ordinarily, as an individual manufacturer, you may not have that kind of access. So they create that with the solution, not only for the financing, but this access. Not only manufacturers as well for the panels and battery system, but also access to top 1 logistic company in the world. So this is all to address the entire challenges that developers face along the value chain. So we are looking at that relationship as well. We are looking also discussing with Palladium, who have committed most likely $75 million for the mesh grid, which is that can come into theirs. There are other finances that we are discussing. As the discussion goes further, we will let all the ecosystem to be aware of this. Now, why are we being very much focused on the financing? I'm sure I don't have to go into that, because the essence of this conference is to why financing and creating these opportunities are very important. But to us, when we bring in $750 million as public sector funding by the federal government of Nigeria, based on the rule of thumb, we require, or we expect, the private sector create a debt and equity financing of about 1.1 billion based on the rule of thumb. And that is why it is important for us to focus on the financing aspect, so that as we are creating these opportunities, the financing and debt opportunities is also available. And that is why we are very keen in this regard. So in conclusion, what I would just say is the opportunities are there. All what developers required are there. The federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, have think through the entire value chain and had provided all these opportunities. What remains is what the Olon representative said. It's for you to now come to convince the finance, to convince the federal government that you have what it takes to deliver on what is expected. Thank you very much.
There's a round of applause once again for Mr. Abba Aliyu. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful keynote address. Please give me a round of applause.